He raised his champagne flute like a king about to knight his heir, then said with a chuckle, "Here's to the children who make us proud, and the ones who just warm the chairs." The table erupted. My brother Ethan grinned like he'd written the line himself. My mother studied her peas as if they held the secrets of the universe. And me? I lifted my water glass, smiled the sweetest smile I'd worn in 28 years and answered, "Funny you say that, Dad. I close on my new house tomorrow. Exactly 4,000 miles from this chair." You could have heard the gravy congeal. They thought that was the mic drop. They had no clue I'd already found the receipts. I'm Claire Whitaker, and I grew up in a split level in Columbus, Ohio, where love was measured in yard lines and touchdowns. My brother Ethan was the quarterback, the prom king, the living, breathing trophy case. His state championship jacket hung by the front door like a national flag. My debate medals and robotics plaques? They lived in a shoebox under my bed, right next to the rejection letters Dad never asked to see. Dad's praise was a spotlight with one fixed direction. When Ethan brought home a B-, Dad called it a speed bump on the highway to greatness. When I got accepted into MIT on full scholarship, he glanced at the letter and muttered, "Boston's cold. You sure you want to be that far from family?" Translation: Don't leave the orbit. Mom's specialty was peacekeeping through casserole. She'd pat my hand and whisper, "Your father's under a lot of stress, honey. Don't rock the boat." So I learned to be unsinkable and invisible at the same time. The garage was my sanctuary. Oil stains, solder smoke, the comforting hum of circuit boards coming to life under my fingers. Machines never compared me to anyone. They just worked or they didn't, and if they didn't, it was because I hadn't listened closely enough. Grandma Ruth understood. Every other Saturday she'd pull up in her ancient Buick with donuts and stories about how she once rewired an entire factory floor of a hospital during the blackout of '77. "You've got lightning in your hands, Claire Bear," she'd say. "Don't let anyone ground you." The night Dad toasted the chair warmers, I was 30, successful, and supposedly coming home for Thanksgiving to keep the peace. I'd flown in from San Francisco, rented a car, and booked an Airbnb because I already knew how the visit would end. After I dropped the 4,000-mile bomb, I laid my napkin beside my untouched plate, said, "Safe travels back to the runway, Ethan," and walked out. No slammed door. No tears. Just the quiet click of a lock finally turning the right way. In the driveway I exhaled so hard the cold air turned to fog. I half expected someone to chase after me with apologies. Instead I heard laughter restart inside, like I'd been a commercial break. I drove straight to Grandma Ruth's little bungalow on the east side. She opened the door in her robe, took one look at my face, and pulled me into the smell of cinnamon and old paper. We didn't talk about Dad. We talked about capacitors and life choices until 3 a.m. The next morning she slid a manila envelope across the kitchen table. "Found this when I cleaned the attic," she said. Inside were bank statements, power of attorney papers, and handwritten notes in Dad's handwriting, slowly draining her savings into a trust for Ethan's future kids. Nothing illegal, just quiet, relentless redirection of every spare dollar toward the son who needed a safety net. Grandma had never said a word, because confrontation wasn't her place. I booked a return flight that afternoon. Back in San Francisco I did what I do best. I built new bookshelves, new routines, new traditions. On Christmas Eve I invited the people who'd become family when blood forgets how. My mentor from MIT, the barista who'd covered my tab when my card declined during intern days, the neighbor who taught me how to surf. 10 of us around a table I'd made myself from reclaimed redwood. No head, no foot, every chair the same height. We ate, we laughed, we took pictures under string lights that looked like captured stars. Those pictures went viral in Columbus before New Year's. My phone lit up with a number I'd deleted twice. Dad didn't bother with hello. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he barked. "Half the church thinks we threw you out on the street. Your aunt's crying in the grocery store. Fix it." "Fix what?" I asked, drying a wine glass. "That I have friends who show up? Or that I finally stopped waiting for you to?" Silence. Then a softer voice, Grandma on speaker. "Claire, baby, your table looked like love." Dad tried to cut her off, but she kept going. "I'm proud of you. And I'm tired of pretending I'm not." 2 days later, my parents landed at SFO. I picked them up in my beat-up Jeep because I refused to rent something respectable. The drive to my apartment was 47 minutes of pure silence. When we walked in, Dad's eyes went straight to the redwood table. 8 identical chairs. Fresh flowers in the center. He swallowed like the sight physically hurt. We ate the dinner I'd cooked. Mom kept complimenting the seasoning to fill the air. Dad pushed food around his plate until he finally set his fork down and said, "We messed up." Not shouted. Not justified. Just said. I didn't let him off the hook. I laid it all out. Every erased birthday, every don't outshine your brother. Every dollar funneled away from the woman who actually saw me. When I finished, the only sound was the refrigerator humming. Dad looked older than I'd ever seen him. I thought if I gave Ethan everything, he'd never leave. Turns out I pushed you away instead. His voice cracked on the last word. Mom reached for my hand. "I's swimming. We'll move money back to your grandmother. We'll learn. If you let us." I studied them for a long moment. "Here's how this works," I said. "You come when invited. You sit where there's room. You listen more than you talk. And if you ever again tell someone at a table that they're just taking up space, you don't get invited back." Dad nodded. Mom squeezed my hand so hard her knuckles went white. They flew home the next day. 2 weeks later, Grandma Ruth moved into a sunny senior apartment 10 minutes from me, paid for with the money that was always hers. Dad wired it without comment. Some nights I still set only one plate at that big redwood table, and it doesn't feel empty. Other nights it's full of mismatched, loud, chosen people, and it feels exactly right. Last week Dad sent a text. Just 4 words. "Can we come for Easter?" I stared at it a long time, then typed back. "Bring dessert. And sit wherever you want." If you've ever had to build your own table because the one you were born to had no room for you, drop your story below. I read every single one. And if this hit you in the chest the way it hit me writing it, subscribe. There's more lightning coming.